Hi everybody, Matty here from BDC TV. We've got another episode of On the Sofa coming your way very shortly. But before we do, as usual, I'm going to ask you to check out all of our social media. You will find all of the links in the description below. And don't forget to sign up to BDC TV. This way you won't miss any of the amazing content that we have coming your way. Okay, on with the show. It gives me great pleasure. I'm thrilled to be joined by the one and only Mr. Rich Kass. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you.
Oh, yeah, having me. Hey, it's a pleasure. Thanks for coming down. How are you?
Good. Yeah, very good up to the last couple of days of seeing how many you drop.
Exactly. I was going to say, I always get great pleasure in saying this. It's new drum day or new drum 2 days, kind of.
Yeah.
Happy?
Very happy. Happier today because I can take my way and play it. And I mean,
it's out of shot at the moment, but I can see it. I think it's an 18-inch bass drum there. We won't pan over to that just yet. We'll save it. You've got quite an array of drums. I asked this morning how many or what sizes. 20 minutes later, and I think you were still telling me the sizes. So just tell us a little bit about what you've gone for.
So, essentially, I kind of always tend to have two kits in the same finish, so I can have one in my studio and one on the road. Sure. Not have to strip one down, strip the mic down and things. So, but I tend to have two different sizes of bass drums, so I've got some options. So I ordered two kind of main kits. One is 8, 10, 12 rack toms and 14 and 16 floor toms of a 20-inch bass drum. And the other is 10, 12, 14 toms, 14 to floor tom with an 18-inch bass. Yep. These are all the same finish, so I can mix and match. So then, in the harking back to when BDC made the imp, I got a 16-inch bass drum, a shallower 10-inch tom, and a 30-inch floor tom, also in the same finish. So there's one big sort of shell back there to choose from.
Amazing. And the finish is Whitehaven, which is a stunner of a finish anyway, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It's beautiful, and I really like white as a colour because it's kind of neutral, so it fits with any kind of backdrop or any stage. But then it's when you put the stage lights on, it suddenly comes to light, and this kaleidoscope of colour.
Yeah,
we have it's almost like a prism. You'd suddenly see all the reds and greens and things and sparkliness. I like that kind of subtlety and strength.
And will the time come when all the hits are put into one mega kit just for their hell?
I mean, it's got to be done at some point, doesn't it? But so sometimes when doing some more avant-garde things, it calls for unusual setups anyway. So I'm fairly sure there'll be a point where most of it gets played. Maybe some of those toms will be played with the feet or something, but yeah, no, and it'll be there at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, avant-garde is definitely in your repertoire, isn't it? Let's be honest. And I guess it has been said that, yeah. You're not a whore or the blow guy. We'll get into that. But I'd have to say, the sizes. Now, what made you go for something like that? Was that in the back of your mind, you know, when you knew you were going to order, or did you see the poster for the imp, or what was it?
So I guess actually there's a poster in the office there is for the imp which reminded me of it, and I'll give you the long answer since we're doing a long form video here. So two of my friends, great players, are also BDC artists, Stu Brown and Jim McDermott. And Stu had an imp. I think he joined the company quite early on, and I'd seen him play that. And when I came and visited the factory, they have a poster of the imp, which I don't think they actually still make it as a production model. And so when I ordered my drums a little after that, I had in the back of my mind, it'd be great to have a small portable bass drum for small gigs and clubs or whatever. So maybe I could order an imp-sized one in the same finish. And then as I was putting the order in, I thought, it'd be a shame not to have the matching toms, wouldn't it? So, you know, I can't leave that little guy out there on his own without his pals. So then I decided to ask if I could order those as well. Of course, Keith was kind enough to say yes. And so we sort of completed the set, and I have what might be the only imp in that finish. I don't know.
I've certainly never seen one, put it that way.
But it looks very cute. I wasn't expecting it to be so what's the words? just struck by this little bass drum when I walked in. But one of the things that's awesome about it is often when you get these smaller size drum kits, they're kind of sort of budget kits and they're fairly cheaply made. But when you get an input, you get any BDC kit, they don't do like sort of slightly more poorly made drum kits. They can only do very nicely maintained. So this thing's it's proper.
No corners cut.
No, it's as much attention to detail and as high quality in all aspects of the hardware and the finish as all the other drums, and that's pretty cool. I liked it. Oh, it's this is like a proper bass drum for a small side. It's not like a wee toy.
Yeah, and you said it looks cute. It's not going to sound cute. It's going to sound amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Very much looking forward to playing that.
So I guess you're taking those back home to Scotland again today.
Yeah.
Will you be setting them up today? And I'm going to...
I will be. I'm lucky enough to have a studio at home, which was built not too long ago. I'm just kind of getting it dialed in for recording at the moment. So I will be taking those home. I'll be setting them up, and I'll be putting them through the paces as soon as possible.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear them. I really can't.
Yeah, me neither.
And you've got quite a range of snare drums. I can see those as well. The viewers at home are being deprived at the moment. They haven't got this amazing view. But just talk us through what you've got, because there's quite a selection there.
Yeah, well, oh God, I'd say really, but I'll tell you about the drums, what they are first. So I have 14 by 5.5 in the air.
Good choice.
14 by 6 Bluebird. I have an Archer snare drum, and I have a snare drum which is a bit of a custom job, very kindly made by Keith, that plays out of the a 3,000-year-old boggle, which I feel very grateful to be owning, and I'm very thankful for Keith and the team for agreeing to let me have one.
Which is going to be the first one you've tried?
It's going to be the Bluebird, actually, because I normally play brass drum.
Okay.
And so I suspect that quite frequently we'll play two snares, even more than one, it's a side snare. But I suspect I'll try to get the Bluebird dialed in the first, as Mansoor made there. I really like brass drums. For the music I play, I think they're the best. I've been to quite a lot of snare drums, and always come back to brass.
Well, do you know, anybody who follows your social media, as well as being a great drummer, you are heavily into wood. You're a crafty kind of guy. So I'd imagine coming here to do your factory visit, which happened some months ago, you must have been in seventh heaven going around the factory.
Yeah, it was awesome. As a sort of hobby to unwind from the sort of dance rhythms that go through my brain. I like making things out of wood. Very interested in sort of cabinet making, carpentry, that kind of stuff. And during lockdown, I built myself a little workshop, so quite often enjoy popping out there in the evenings and unwinding. So yeah, it was super enjoyable to come and visit the factory. I asked a lot of questions, and I'm sort of interested in all aspects of making things, including like the spray finishes and stuff. So when I was speaking to Fraz about the spray finishes, I was asking about denibbing and stuff, and he was like, what's going on here?
That's not the regular kind of question.
So yeah, it was awesome. It was great seeing how the drums are made, and I feel like I have a decent appreciation for that construction process and what goes into it, how different that is from the way that most drums are made, because I have done a bit of research on it. So yeah, it was awesome.
Did it kind of, because people always, I'm assuming that I know I did before I first came here, you have like an imagination of what it's going to be like. Did it kind of match your expectations, if you like, the factory?
Yeah, and I think one thing that surprised me was the fact that I was literally walked through every step of the process and was able to stop and speak to everyone that did it. Given that this is a working environment and people are busy, I was amazed. Very humbled at how much time everybody took to chat to me and make me feel welcome and understand the process. And I felt that was like a very privileged thing, a very special thing to do. And especially in like a sort of business environment, people's time is a very valuable resource. And so it kind of, you know, made me feel like very, very grateful. And so I wasn't expecting to see every step of the process like that, which was amazing. And I also wasn't expecting to just wander through the back and see some of the assembled drums for artists and a few prototypes and various things. Yeah, so it was great, and I was amazed at some of the things that happened in the construction process which I didn't know about. For example, all the washers on the outside of the drums being made from cherry and being made from offcuts. A lot of this stuff that's being reused. It's incredibly efficient and, you know, like kind of environmentally friendly in that way. And again, a lot of the woods are native woods as well, which again uses carbon footprint, that kind of stuff. So it's brilliant from that side of things as well.
Yeah. I knew, because obviously I know you like wood. It's as simple as that. Yeah. You like hitting it, you like working with it, and I just, yeah, it's nice to get your perspective on it, you know, because, I mean, everyone loves the factory tour, but not everyone is as deep into it as you are, so it's nice to get your side of things there.
Oh, it was awesome, man. I was asking about how they cut the bare edges, if they do the climb cups to stop tearing out on the grain, and how they cut the veneers trying to make the laminates to make sure they're square. And yeah, it was great. Properly kind of married two kind of dreams into one there, you know. And also getting to chat to Keith and ask him a bunch of questions as well. It's sort of nice on the cake.
Yeah. And now you've got the kind of fruit of all that sitting here waiting to go in your car and go back home with it. It's a lovely thing to be proud, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It's not a case of becoming an artist of the company and they send you a few things out and off you go, you know. You walk through the entire process and you get to see how everything's made. You get to meet the people who are going to make it. And you sort of made to feel like part of a family, which is...
And that's really got to add to what you've got there as well. Know it, you know, how it's been made, who's made it, who's done each little section of it.
Yeah.
And you can put a face to them and a name.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, very much so. You look at that drum and you don't just look at the instrument and think, oh, that's a beautiful instrument. You think about all the people that have made that possible.
Yeah.
And you know, that's kind of the stuff that you remember in your life, isn't it?
Absolutely. To top it all off, you have to sit here and talk to me for an hour. Bad. It's a downside to everything, but anyway, look, let's go back to young Rich time. When did kind of music feature in your life for the first time?
So I guess it was probably relatively late compared to what the musicians I play with right now, actually. I couldn't tell you exact age. Pretty bad with exact dates, but it was probably my early teens. My older brother's a musician, and he, at this point, was playing guitar, singing, and he was in a band. And one day the band came rehearsed at my house. And so the drummer came along and set his drum kit up, and that's the first time I'd seen a drum kit up close in the flesh. And I just wanted to hit this thing. And then this guy, Steve, his name was saying, like, right, we're going to go take a break, don't play no drums. And of course, you can do when you hear some young whippersnapper and you never see a drum kit, you can hit this. Of course, I start hitting it. Of course, I hear it come in, don't play those drums. After about 3 or 4 times of this cycle repeating itself, he was kind enough to sort of show me how to play a beam or something. Yeah. And from there, I came for the drum kit. And after a while, my parents agreed. And for Christmas one year, I got a second-hand drum kit. I started just playing along to kind of punk records in my bedroom. Played along everything from, you know, Green Day and Nirvana and Blink-182 to everything that was on Kerrang at the time, you know. And all, yeah, I would kind of play along with everything. I would play along to all the records that my dad would play me in the car and stuff. We joined a few bands in school and just kind of love playing. I'd get home from school every day, or I would just go up to my room and put the stereo on and play along with records. And that is weird because it's probably the only thing I kind of stuck with. I've been introduced to lots of different things. Parents had always supported any hobbies or whatever, but without having to think about it too hard, I just loved sort of playing the drums and playing music, you know.
Well, anybody that knows what you do and the people you play with, Blink-182 and Nirvana, don't exactly come to mind for your style at the moment. When did your musical tastes change? You know, into the slightly more avant-garde, we'll use that word again, kind of material.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pinpoint at an exact time, but one of the things that sort of tends to happen when you get more serious about the instrument is you start to get a bit more geeky about the player. As well, you know, I remember like reading Rhythm magazine, for example, a modern drummer, and I've seen you read about all these amazing players, and a lot of them were playing more kind of like jazz or fusion oriented music. And so at some point, even if the music was beyond my comprehension straight away, I was aware of how brilliant the drumming was. I remember my dad bought me a couple of records. He bought me Bertha Cool by Miles Davis, and he bought me Big Swing Face, Buddy Rich Big Band. And so I just started getting into sort of jazz drummers, fusion drummers, all the kind of classic things, and so I had a bit of an appreciation. And then when I was leaving school, I had this is quite funny actually. I had a scholarship to do economics at uni.
Okay,
and but like because my brother had gone off to study composition and in music, I was kind of interested to do music. So I was sort of whim. So I said to my parents, "Oh, maybe I'd like to go and study music." They were like, well, "Okay, that's what you want to do," and they really didn't give me a hard time about it. And neither of my parents went to university, so we were like sort of first people in the faculty to do that. But they weren't, they really weren't precious about it, supporting me. So I thought I'd maybe only just do it for a year, did this course, and then maybe go do something else. But I ended up liking it, so I studied music at university and was exposed to more of that kind of music. And then just gradually, when I left uni, I was playing more of a wider variety of things. I was doing some sort of jazz stuff and various other things. I was also doing a lot of pop work and stuff. I just slowly sort of gravitated more and more toward to play music that was more in the realm being derived from improvisation to different classical music and looking at all the interesting sort of rhythmic forms and things. And yeah, so actually I just sort of, and the more I would play with players who play that music, the more I'd learn or develop. It's sort of just this sort of gradual process. And in a way, I still have a love for all the kind of music that I listen to, but the stuff I want to be playing right now is more in this realm of being, you know, like rhythmically dense, I guess, without
challenging stuff as well. I mean, you did some amazing things over lockdown, and I forget the name. What did you call them? The drum interpretations, and I think the one that I saw first with the Steve Wright clapping music, which is incredibly impressive. And then I think the one that most people, I think a lot of people shared, it was the Buddy Rich, the bus rant. Just tell us how much work went into that. Well, explain what it is first, so people can go and check it out and see how incredible it is.
So, if you're not aware, firstly, I'm a huge Buddy Rich fan, so this whole thing was done out of respect. But there were these legendary tapes in doing the rounds in, I guess, like the 80s, of Buddy Rich having rants at his bands on the bus. I think there was a period where he was touring, and because of like the sort of like budgetary constraints of taking a huge band on the road, he would often take younger musicians. Some of them would be quite green and not as experienced. Some of the musicians he was used to play with, and there was a few times where he'd go bananas at his back because he wasn't happy about how to play on stage. And at some point, somebody taped some of these. I believe it might have been an Aussie guy, a trombonist. I can't remember now. But someone taped some of these, and they did the rounds, like bootlegs of these tapes, and they were legendary, not really just amongst drummers, but amongst stand-up comedians, for example. Like, there are direct quotes of these tapes in a few episodes of well-known comedy shows, for example. Is it Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld or one of these that's in, I forget now. And also there was like a cult following. So there was a comic book came out called Buddy's Habits.
I didn't know this.
But yeah, and actually, if you look at the video of this, I had a drum head made up, which had, I managed to get my hands on some of the comics. I got them printed on the bass drum head.
So that's what that is. I didn't realise what.
Anyway, so I was actually, I did like a kind of like giveaway for this, and the drummer who got the head is a guy called Eamon Ferris, who plays drums for the Waterboys. Yeah. So he's got that head, I believe. And so all this stuff is, it's fascinating culturally how these rants from this drummer have permeated all, like several different art forms. And I'm obviously really interested in rhythm. For a long time when speaking for people, I've been very aware of the rhythm of people's speech, what tempo they speak at, and what subdivisions they use, and if they're excited, if things change. So I just kind of thought it'd be fun to transcribe the rhythms of Buddy's speech, because in this particular one that I transcribed, which I think was like a third of the takes, there's several. It's just this, there's a lot of parallels you can draw between his rant and like a great solo. It gradually builds like crescendos, and he uses the same language several times, brings things in and develops them. There's a really great parallel into my ear between this rant and a composition of music. So between the rhythmic language, the structuring of it, and the sort of fluctuations and pitches and things, it was all there. It was just a case of you just have to play this on the drums. So I just kind of sat down and did that. And when there are big pauses for effect, sometimes I'll leave them. Sometimes I would try to do that thing that you would do if you play a big band gig, which is to set up for anything that's happening or whatever. So it's just a real exploration of something where I felt all the information's already there. You just have to play it,
Wow. I mean, what kind of work is involved? When you say transcribe, you actually wrote it out? Did you write sections of it, or how did you? Yeah, I could start doing that. How do you work a time signature out for something like that?
I think, I just wrote it out. I mean, I could hear the rhythm straight away. I could write the rhythms down. You just have to decide with that. If you hear, I can't actually say the first phrase because you'll have to bleep it out because it contains swearing. But the first rhythm, if you hear that semiquaver where it's 1 and 2 and, or then there's your tempo, then everything beyond that could have, as I just did there, that's the sort of dodge of the black KPT. It's got to be, or you can get it within a subdivision or a two-play or something if you understand those things to a decent level. So you can place everything within that pulse once you've established a tempo. And then there's a couple of points where I felt maybe the tempo changed, or I wanted to change the tempo. There's a bit where Buddy says you can't pat your foot and play. And it's like, well, that's just inviting you to play something where you pat your foot and play the rhythm and that kind of, So yeah, I would just make decisions, and then like everything, how do you start? You start by doing it, and then when you come across problems or you come across things which aren't working, you reflect on them, you change something, you implement it, and you do again, and that's how you get good at things. Like, you get good at things by doing them, not by being put off. And when you come up against something which doesn't make sense, so I would play some of it and maybe record it at the end of the day, and then I'll listen back to it and think, how does that sound? What needs work? Maybe I could perform that better. Maybe there's a better idea that would work here. This doesn't join so well to here. And then when it was at a point where I thought, okay, that sounds good, and recorded it.
Did you do a more take, or was it?
Yeah, always do them. The drum interpretations, I always do them from memory, even though I tend to write them out first. And I always do them at one take. Those are the kind of things, because, well, I guess there's a bunch of reasons for doing it, but I mean, firstly, there's no, musically, I'm interested in developing the skills so I can sound my best when I play. So if I'm in the habit of having to play things in sections to make a video or something, that I'm not really going to be able to replicate that live. Secondly, there's a sort of purity that I believe in having like a whole performance and hearing from start to finish, which is important. Like if I did the take 5 times, there would be differences in dynamics or how things grow, and you know, when you get to a certain level, you respond to how you've just played something. It's not a case of just playing from muscle memory. You really try to listen and engage with that. So connecting different takes when you're listening on that in that detail, you hear that sometimes it doesn't sound so good. And the third one is, these things are things I just do kind of for fun, you know. I mean, I think they're a good reflection of who I am musically and how my brain works in the language I'm interested in playing on the drum kit. But so there's not, because they're kind of things that I just do in my spare musical time, as opposed to like my sort of like professional musical time. I don't have to get them tomorrow if I just focus on like getting it sounding a bit better when I go to sit down when I've got time. And whenever it's ready to be played, it's played, you know.
So there's no, the pressure's off in respects.
Yeah, the pressure's off. It doesn't have to be done by tomorrow. And so I decide when to record it based on when it's ready to record. Not based on my deadline or based on time. And so like, then you've got time to memorize it. People often ask me about memorizing stuff actually. And it's like anything else. The more you memorize stuff, the better you get at it. Just start like small. If you do like 1 bar a day, there's 200 and something bars of music. You'll have it in, you know, in under a year. And if you do 1 bar a day, after a few weeks, you'll be able to memorize more than a bar a day. Yeah. And so it becomes exponential. Suddenly you'll be able to memorize 10 bars a day, and then suddenly it'll take you 100 months to memorize 200 bars of music.
We're going to move on a little bit. Now, the first time I became aware of you was, and I think it may have been Rhythm Magazine, but I can't remember which came first. I think it came after I saw you at the Royal Northern Day of Percussion, and I think it was it COVID year?
I think it was 2019.
Oh, okay, so you knew it before, killing it. Yeah. And obviously this is with your trio, head trio HLK, and Evelyn Glennie, among other, which was just mind-blowing. And I remember watching you just jaw scraping along the floor. Tell us about that incredible musical collaboration.
Yeah, well, I guess that music has been the biggest part of my career for the last 5 to 7 years. And so the trio, which is myself, guitarist Ant Love, and pianist Rich Harold, we've been playing together since I'd say 2015. We've been touring as a trio since then, and we've been touring with Evelyn Glennie joining us as a quartet since 2018. And we recorded an album which featured Evelyn on it. That was released in 2018, but I think Misha recorded it in 2016. So the relationship with Evelyn started back in 2016. And the music is loosely, something which is somewhere between contemporary classical music and jazz or improvised music. There's both a lot of composed material and a lot of time when people take solos over solo forms, and a lot of improvised things happening. And yeah, we've been touring since then, and it's been amazing. We've got to play in lots of different parts of the world, and lots of prestigious events, prestigious concert halls and things, including the RCM Day, which I think we sort of headlined the evening. We did an educational sort of workshop.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw you. Yeah, about it. Blown away.
Yeah, so for me, it's been something that's sort of like the privilege of my career so far to be playing that music and working with those musicians.
I mean, obviously, without Evelyn, it's an incredible trio. Obviously there's new challenges for you, but probably good challenges when Evelyn teamed up with you. Was that the case? Did it inspire you to do different things, or obviously working with another drummer and percussionist? How did that work?
I mean, it's been awesome from the start working with Evelyn. But when you're playing a trio, you're playing with quartet, obviously collaborations, in my opinion, work best when everyone is given the opportunity to sound best, and you make adjustments and think like, how can we make the whole thing sound good? So playing as a quartet has to be different from playing for a trio, because you need to carve out a bunch more space. But then there's also the fact that when you've got somebody as amazing as Evelyn, she brings so much to the table that part of the consideration is, are we making the most of this? You know, like, Evelyn can play so many instruments and she can play in so many ways. So, and yeah, we've changed a lot about how we play. And every time we do a concert, that the music evolves, because we chat afterwards about how it worked, and maybe like, oh, we should definitely do more of that stuff at the start. That opening number, I love that texture. And then there's also just the opportunity playing with someone as great as Evelyn is, to learn loads. It's influenced me in a lot of ways, even out with the trio. Like, when I started playing with a percussionist who's playing marimba and xylophone things, it's got me interested in playing tune percussion, and now I incorporate that into my setup quite a lot with live. But I think, like, one of the things that you kind of have to do is when someone joins you, is listen and adjust. We've come back to your question, really. So when we started playing with Evelyn, the arrangements will change. So there's more parts, and there'll be additional solos for Evelyn and things. But in, say, a solo form, Evelyn might pick up a shaker or be playing on the timpani with some sticks with different instruments on there. She uses the timpani as like a resting chamber. She'll be playing some rhythms. So she's playing a lot of subdivisions. And then maybe in that solo form, instead of me playing most of subdivisions, I'll kind of play like sparser and try and fit in with it. I think a very important thing about playing music and playing it well is you have to submit to trying to play this one thing together, not each play your own individual instrument and listen to what you're playing. You've got to try and hear that whole sound, and then honestly think what's the best thing you can play to make that right, not be thinking about yourself. So a lot of it is just responding and playing, and then reflecting on whether that was the best approach or not. You know, sometimes you have a conversation about it after the concert and say, do you like what I played there, or how that affected, or sometimes it, you know, doesn't need to be said, everyone hears it and knows it. So yeah, sometimes it's about playing with sparser, but then other times it's not about that. There's one concert we did, and I did, you know, I can remember I played a drum solo, and I think on this particular solo, I was doing stuff with a lot of like rhythmic counterpoints. So I was bringing a rhythm in and then another rhythm in under it while this sort of melodic thing was going on. And I remember Evelyn saying to me, "Oh, you know, that was just, thought it was quite interesting, and be really, you know, that's a really interesting thing to explore on the drum kit." And that's then would influence. For example, I think after chatting for about that, I thought, when they record this version of classical music by Steve Reich and bring in this rhythmic counterpoint under it with the feed. Like, so there's been some stuff that's influenced by playing, which has just been as a result of playing together and some of the conversations. And similarly with Ad in the trio is Rich, and they're both incredible musicians, and they both play with a lot of other incredible musicians. Sometimes they'll observe things in your playing that you haven't given so much credence to yourself, and it encourages you to develop those ideas further. So that's one of the things that's come out of the play with all three of the guys is not just playing differently in the moment on stage or whatever, but having these conversations about what we've been playing, and you hear what other people have heard, and it sometimes encourages you to explore certain facets and more.
That's really interesting, because there's obviously a great respect between you all, you know, for each other, and you don't, and you touched on this, you don't step on each other's toes musically. There's space for everybody, and that I was lucky enough to catch you at was it Stoll Hall, wasn't it? Oh yeah, it's back in November last year.
Yeah,
incredible. I mean, visually as well, because it's quite a sight to see, isn't it? Especially with Evelyn with one or two instruments that she has on the stage. But there's space for everybody, and you know, considering there's that much going on, It's quite a difficult thing to do, I'm sure.
We do work quite hard on that. We've got these three amazing musicians who play with who can all do so much. But everybody is so aware, in my opinion, of the broader thing of making the compositions and the music sound as good as possible, that everyone's really listening all the time. And it's not a case of, I've got this stuff together, I need to put it in here. It's a case of this is the thing we're trying to make and what needs to be done. And we don't always get that right, but what you do is get better at making the right decisions more often by doing stuff and reflecting on it and being open to it and being open to criticism, both in rehearsals and after gigs. One of the nice things about working with musicians who you're friends with and you respect is being able to have all those conversations. I didn't like what you played behind my soul tonight. I thought it was stepping on my toes, or I feel that thing's a bit too dense that you're playing in this section, or the opposite, I really like that. Could we try more of that tomorrow night? Or so that's one of the really positive things to come out of the collaboration, is that honesty, that openness. And I think that in broader things in life, I'd appreciate that more and more now, is people being real, people being honest and respectful, not just saying nice things all the time when it's not totally genuine, you know.
And acting professional as well. Can you imagine if, we'll change the context, it's somebody playing in a pub cover band and the guitarist said to the drummer, I don't like what you did there, and you can imagine it's probably going to end up in fisticuffs, isn't it? Let's be honest, not sitting and calmly chatting about it, but either way, I mean, I think you've just recorded a new album, and as the trio, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't say too much, but I can't say that Evelyn's also on.
Oh, is she? Oh, okay.
And there's going to be a couple other people joining us as well. So yeah, we recorded the bulk of the album. It's not all done yet. Yeah, in January 2023. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that.
To look forward to.
There's one tiny story which, if I may drop it, which was in a run up to this. Obviously, music is pretty heavyweight. You've got to give it time and respect, especially for recording. And after this Star Hall concert, I potentially had a little while to prepare the music, and got very sick because I got COVID. Was out of action for a few weeks, and it was Christmas time, and so I spent Christmas at my parents' house with my wife and daughter and my extended family. We had this recording right after, so I had to take my drums up, and I got the flu after having COVID, but I had no choice. Every day while we're up at Christmas, my dad has this little wooden cabin that you built next to the house in the Highlands. It's gone. I would get up, I'd have a temperature of 39.3, I'd be shivering, I would go down in the shed and I would practice this music for 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever, and I'd have sections that I know needed to work on, and I would be dying, and then I would get back and spend some time with the family, and more paracetamol or whatever, and it was a pretty brutal existence. But when I walked away from doing the album, I was so pleased I did, because I really feel that it's the sort of best playing I've done on a recording. It's I've given everything I could,
literally.
And yeah, literally. So I'm really excited to share the music. It's been a lot of time.
That's what it takes. That's dedication. There you go. Simple as that.
Well, yeah, if you love it, it doesn't seem like I'm out most of the time.
So obviously we've got that to look forward to. Will you be touring to promote that?
Yeah, you definitely will. We haven't chatted with the label about the release schedule yet, so I don't know, but generally, in case anyone's not aware, generally when you release the album, you tend to put the tour around the release dates. So that'll be happening, and I think we've got a few shows coming up later in 2023, but the dates haven't been announced yet, so sure, those will be coming up.
So not only will you be able to hear the incredible music that Rich creates with trio HLK and Evelyn Glennie, but you'll be able to see and hear these beautiful drums in person.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I'll bet. So drums aside, do you have I mean, we've already talked about one of your hobbies, your kind of go-to thing, but anything else that you do, drums aside, just to chill out?
I mean, making stuff out of wood, occasionally brewing beer.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
Yeah. And I just like making stuff, really. Yeah, my brother used to be a brewer. He used to be head brewer for a brewery called Stewart Brewing, which is quite a big brewery in Scotland. And at some point, I think when I was studying music, for a Christmas present, he got me a gift voucher for a home brew shop. So I made some beer. It was awful that I made it, and me and my student friends, we all drank it because it was free. Yeah, and every now and again I'll make a little IPA or something. Other than that, making takes out wood, but music takes up the vast majority of my time, and I'm happy with that.
What can I say? Amazing. Well, look, Rich, thanks so much for coming along and spending some time on the sofa with us today. And enjoy these beautiful drums, and good luck with everything that the future holds. Hopefully, we'll see you out and about and come and catch these beautiful Whitehaven Legends drums. See about that, right? Then all the information correct. Maybe not all of them at once, but definitely some of them. Yeah. Cheers, Rich. Thank you, mate. Well, cheers. Look forward to it. So there we go, folks. Hope you enjoyed that episode of On the Sofa with the wonderful Mr. Rich Kass. Don't forget, once again, please check out all of the social media. You will find the links in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, BDC TV, and you won't miss any of this wonderful content that we have for you. Thanks for watching.